really excellent on this marksman. Granger is one of his top picks in the tournament, in his history actually. So we'll have to see how EVOS pulls one off. If it's anyone to pull off a draft like this, it's going to be EVOS. But draft aside, who are we voting for now, seeing the draft?
I like EVOS, but Kingsmen lineup kind of seems better to me.
Okay.
I will go with EVOS. That combo implosion with the last insanity. That's going to happen.
All right, let's see what happens. I am going to lean towards Kingsmen's draft, but now the cast is over to you guys. Abstract and Fizzy, over to you.
All right,
there it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is what I've been waiting to do. You know, you can't really start a competition or can't really start MPL without hearing that. But for now, let us just jump right in and take a look at the lanes. We do have the Thumb, who's played by Loon, all the way up to the top lane, fighting against Gear, who is on Axbox. Down the bottom lane, Forza onto the Yuzong. Wait, what? Anyways, against the Esmeralda, played by Adamir, and the rest will be neck and neck right here in the middle lane. A little bit of a 50-50, but you can pretty much see that JPL's HP is going all the way down to less than half HP, and that is kind of my problem, right? Kingsmen, they have a pretty bad... Kingsmen have a really good early stage of the game, especially with the magical mild damage. Yes. EVOS can only start building more magical resistance onto their third item, which most likely will come in at about 11 minutes or so.
Yep, that's exactly true. Now, Odia Bambi using that retribution skill on Nathan, which means that they have the mid to the late game power scaling. He needs to get to level 4 under 2 minutes, because at 2 minutes, the first turtle will spawn at the top lane. That's where the first fight's going to happen, the first objective.
Potato is currently at level 3. Odia Bambi is level 4. We are still waiting for the turtle to come back up, so let's hope that Odia Bambi is able to get a little bit more level advantage on top of Potato, because let's be honest, Potato that is playing as the Granger, I'm not exactly a big fan of Granger nowadays onto the jungle, because, you know, things are starting to ramp up a little bit slowly. And that is the main problem that I see in the side of EVOS. But hey, they're still playing on comfort, and in the end, sometimes comfort still prevails. The way that EVOS is playing is that they are offering a small little bit of well, babysitting service down in the bottom lane, and they do have quite a bit of mobility to actually move around the map. Except that they didn't quite realize that EVOS, they are pretty fast when it comes to dealing with the objective, and Kingsmen can actually contest for it. But speaking of which, I believe that is going to be a first blood coming in. Wait, what? EVOS first blood first? Wait,
EVOS,
is it?
Yes, EVOS first blood. Surprisingly, and it's not JPL, it's going to be Forza using the Black Dragon. Goes down super aggressive from the get-go after they secured the turtle.
Definitely not what I was expecting. But we still have 85 seconds until the next objective comes up, and this is going to allow Kingsmen to open up a lot of avenue with their massive pound of damage, pound after pound. You can pretty much see that Azura X is the one that is taking up the front lines. They don't really have a lot of early game beefiness in their lineup, so EVOS, they can actually, the only thing that they can do in the early stages of the game is that they can bait things out from Kingsmen, make them use their abilities and kind of make them go overextend, and from that point on, just crash upon them, collapse upon them, because nothing from Kingsmen is able to survive a wombo combo that EVOS is throwing out to them.
Yeah, this is looking good for EVOS. They have the Granger, they have Gear with that as well, which means they have that early game advantage, right? But Kingsman is a ticking time bomb. With Nathan, with Jay on that Sicilian, and Forza on that Black Dragon, these are late game heroes. So once the timer hits 10 minutes, and if EVOS cannot close this game under 15, the ticking timer is just going to go off, and Kingsman will have the advantage in the late game.
Well, it is all about the beefiness for Kingsmen. In the end, when we are looking at the lineup, there are certain points of 50-50 elements. We got Kingsmen, their late game scaling when it comes to damage mostly comes off of Jay, which is playing onto the Sicilian. Nathan comes in somewhere around the early to the mid stages of the game. But the most important thing is that Azura X, that is playing as Matilda, he needs to be the one that really makes a very big movement. Otherwise, the more, when it comes to the later stages of the game, he's more of a support. He's really more of a mobility aid for the rest of his team in order for them to go aggressively and still be able to run back home pretty safely. And I believe that the only reason why Kingsman doesn't have a really beefy character is only because of the fact that they have a Matilda. And that is what's good about Matilda.
Yep, picking on Matilda. The second turtle is going to get out. Time to secure one on that territory. Hybrid goes down, but then again, Audio Bambi secures that second turtle of the game. Is going to be 2-0 on the side of KGM. Aggression was done by EVOS, but they paid the price.
Nothing too out of the ordinary. That was pretty much expecting, well, the expected here. With Kingsmen dominating in the first 5 minutes with a total of 3 kills and 1 death, and only at 1,000 of gold economy advantage, they can definitely propel themselves even further, considering the fact that EVOS, they don't really have heroes that does really well when it comes to recapturing objective. We take a look at this. We've got AoE effect from here. He's probably the only one that can do a decent amount of damage to objectives and kind of snipe it out. When it comes to clearing creeps, it's pretty much okay. But speaking of clearing creeps, one thing that Kingsman is not doing is, well, not clearing creeps, because they are trying to do their very best to try to bring down the members coming in from EVOS. We've got Forza HP going all the way down low, pretty much in a critical state. But however, Adamir's HP, or rather his movement speed, is pretty darn fast. But as I said before, the guiding wind really is one thing that helps the team to get themselves out of a pickle.
Yep, it definitely does. And with that being said, though, the T1 turret on the side of EVOS goes down. Well, this is highly unlikely, right? Like we mentioned before, EVOS has the aggression composition, but they are not being aggressive. This is bad news for EVOS. If they can't capitalize or they can't improve with the position that they are in right now, the ticking time bomb is just going to blast, and Kingsman is just going to slay them straight.
Well, EVOS though, are gonna have to be really scared of what's gonna happen next, right? Because Sailor Lunox is the one that can pretty much burst quite a lot of people down from the side of Kingsmen, but they don't really have a lot of objectives that they can work for. Looking for JPL, if he's the only thing, or rather if he's the only person who can set up an implosion and enable a wombo combo, then that's pretty darn sad. But they do have Adamir, so going out with the Falling Star Moon, at least that is that. Aside from that, you know, you don't really have any other initiators, it doesn't really have too much lockdown, and you see JPL missing the implosion. This is where Kingsman is definitely going to be collapsing upon onto EVOS, as we do have Forza just going to be guiding himself through the battlefield with his Black Dragon 4, but unfortunately everyone else just going to be focusing him down, and thus with a 1-for-2 trade, we got Adamir and JPL down in favor of Forza's death, which, to be fair, is pretty okay, right? 1-for-2, 4 members from Kingsmen, they can just push however they want through the middle lane, and top lane should be, you know, taken down too.
Yep, all based on the last play, well done by KGM, right? They want to secure that turtle, they did secure it, and why not? EVOS was already up front. They're going to go for that fight, and they're winning that team fight as well, securing that team fight as well. Now they're trying to focus here in T2, up top, Audio Bambi up in front. Azura X is close towards him. Will they jump in here to secure the T2? Yeah, no problem, T2 is going to go down.
Well, that was a little bit fast. They didn't really quite expect that EVOS will make a rotation down to the bottom lane because of the fact that I think that they were trying to catch someone off guard in the in the orange bar, but it didn't seem that way. Either way, JPL does manage to bring up a charge onto Loon, did not manage to follow up with any other forms of CC controls. At least the purple buff was still taken by EVOS, so that is the small little light at the end of the tunnel. But EVOS, they're not too far away. They are only 1.7 thousand gold away when it comes to net worth, but they are losing out in, well, literally everything. They don't have to control the map.
Exactly, and when you look at the objective, 4 turret goes down on the side of Kingsman, and now just 1 on the side of EVOS. It can be 5 here. It seems like Bad Claw will be heading on to JPL. JPL is still fighting for that flicker and implosion. He's still waiting, and EVOS is waiting for JPL to start it out, but it seems like they are not going to focus on any fights right now with Zura X trying to go into the front lines, but Turtle is out, so they're going to reset for both teams.
I'm just thinking, if EVOS were to go to the late game, what happens? If Kingsman goes to the late game, what happens? This kind of seems like the point whereby whichever team starts the initiation first and they manage to bring down the main bulk of the burst first is pretty much going to be the winning team. Yep. Whichever team that receives the bulk of the damage, well, that is going to be sad. EVOS do have a more difficult approach when it comes to getting the burst down because they do have Adamir with a very comical Falling Star Moon. They do have JPL's Implosion, which is very comical as well. Everything from that is just burst after burst with the Power of the Chaos Darkening from Sailor, Potato with Rhapsody, or perhaps even Death Sonata, and not to forget Gear. Right? We can't forget about Last Insanity. Well, for Kingsmen, it's pretty simple for them. They don't really have very high comical skills. Jay can just simply bring down the Sanguine Claws. We can have Odia Bambi bring the Vacuum in, and from that point on, they can just bring everyone to shreds. And we shall see exactly how that is going to be happening, as we do have Azura Axe. He did manage to land one of the Guiding Wind onto Gear, almost bringing him down though, but unfortunately nothing happens from that. Everyone else from the side of Kingsman, they are all absolutely cluttered. But Odia Bambi, his HP, he got himself away with just a sliver of health, which honestly is kind of sad coming in from Ceylon because he was so close.
Here, Forza was the main initiator for the team, hits the Black Dragon, goes into the front line. EVOS try to fight for it, but then again they realize something happened, and now they're gonna reset because they're not gonna go for any unnecessary fight. The Lord is still up.
JPL has just brought himself with the Radiant Armor, and that is not a good news for Kingsman. The main bulk of the burst damage dealers from Kingsman is now going to be slightly nullified from JPL's tankiness, beefiness in the front lines, so he doesn't really have to be too afraid. You can pretty much see he's starting to be a lot more aggressive. He's putting himself in front of the enemy's lines and just really be in your face. But he still has to be really careful. He still has to respect the damage that could come up from Loon, from Forza, and of course from Azura X. Still, he does have Radiant Armor, but you know, it's not an item that guarantees safety.
Exactly, now we are focusing on the Lord. Lord is at half life. Lord has been decided to jump for early. It's going to be 20%. It's going to be fight coming in. Who's going to start into the front line? It's going to be Potato securing with a retribution skill, but the fight is still happening. Death Sonata. Tamus goes down. Potato's been on Havoc, but here comes Forza getting into the back lines, trying to use that passive and the Dragon Tail, but he's going to go down. Triple kill. Potato secures that one. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be 4-0 for EVOS. What a fight, and why not? They got the big boy with them.
A scuffed fight from Kingsmen. I'm pretty sure you can pretty much understand the whole definition of scuffed, right? We've got, okay, we can take a look at the quick hydration here. The scuffed fight happens when Loon goes in first. Luckily, yes, he does have Azura X to help him out. Jay making sure that he's in the prime positioning to ensure that he's always behind his own lines and not to be caught out. But then Forza goes in, realizing that, hey, there's a lot of them that's actually pretty low in HP. We could do something about that. I could do something about that. Surely they can bring me down. I do have great regeneration. Until we've got CC. Because, let's be honest, CCs is the problem for heroes that thrive on regeneration and health absorption. But for now, let us jump right in onto the bottom lane. The Lord has went down. The rest of Kingsmen, they are going to be fighting back and engulfing whatever that they have that EVOS is throwing at them, because they are pretty close to their fountain. After all, they can just whip themselves back in and then come back out refreshed, while EVOS can't do that. The most that they can do is just poke them and just keep on poking. But Adamir and JPL, they are not gonna let them go just yet, as Adamir is just gonna be jumping right in. He does have the Falling Star Moon, but unfortunately none of the damage is just dealing much on the Odia Babi at all. He was ready to go for the flip side together with his Ultimate Illusion, but Adamir realizes that there's no point in pursuing that anymore once the ultimate has been taught, because he can be going back to safety very, very darn easily. So, good job coming from EVOS. They made sure that they do not overextend themselves, and they know where is their limits.
Alright, now when you look at Odia Bambi's items, right, he has that Corrosion Sky, he has the Alice Battle, and he has that BOD, which means that he would deal a lot of damage. So I'm not going to worry if I'm Kingsman right now, even though they have their back straight on the wall, but they have that firepower. It's a ticking time bomb. It's at the late game right now. So I'm not so worried about them, but what I like about what EVOS is doing is basically they are draining the resources away from KGM. So that's something that they need to do, because they need to wait for the Lord. They need to have the Lord with them.
Adamir is being very aggressive. They're doing what they can to withhold the entire control within the enemy's jungle, and that is EVOS' message over to Kingsmen, that they are not going to be the team that drew the short end of the straw. They would want to stay up at the top of the brackets and do whatever they can to bring everyone else down instead of being relegated, because they would want to have a very nice game throughout it all. They want to hold on to their stamina. They want to make sure they don't play any more extra games to a certain extent. And thus, EVOS doing what they can with JPL right in front of the scoreline, making sure that he will be able to zone everyone else out away from the purple vibe, but he knows he can't be too far. Gear just going out with the fire missiles, working his way onto Forza. Kingsmen, they can't find an opening, and neither does EVOS, because EVOS don't have particularly a reason to start a fight since the Lord's coming up in 30 seconds.
Exactly, and the reason why Kingsmen cannot fight for it is because they do not have a tanky lineup up front. Okay, it's only Forza, but once Forza goes down, it's bad news for Kingsmen. Now, they know that they can't fight for the resources. The next better thing to do is just not initiating in any fights. They are smart in that way, right? Now, less than 10 seconds, it's gonna be the Luminous North, right? So, if it was me, if I'm Kingsmen, I have the firepower, I will contest for the Lord.
Go for the Lord right now, because it makes a lot of sense. We do have the top lane that's trying to be pushed down by EVOS, because that is exactly where Gear is. And if Kingsmen actually manage to kind of get the memo and being able to crumble themselves upon on EVOS before Gear can come in, it would have been a great start. But I suppose that Kingsmen, they know their power gap where they are. They know how far and how much damage they can deal, and they can't possibly bring down the entire team during the short duration while Gear travels his way all the way to top, down to mid. So the best that they can do, steal the Lord, or let the Lord do its thing, and just deal some damage on the members of EVOS, and making the full use of the CCs, which is such as Loon, right? Loon, he flew up in the air, but EVOS, they don't want to overextend themselves right now.
Alright, so Lord is at 10% life. Forza is going to initiate the fight coming in. Look at him going to the back line. He's going for Potato. Potato is going to escape with the Rhapsody. Rhapsody is going to get in front. And look at the back from Jay. No one goes down yet. But then again, Tamus goes down. Tamus brings down Tyke with no front line on the side of EVOS. But then again, Odia Bambi secures one. Into his name is going to be 3-0 on the side of Kingsman. This is the firepower I was talking about into the late game.
Neck and neck. Kingsmen and EVOS, it doesn't seem like things are too much over just yet for Gear. He almost got himself away, but alas, he still met his fate and has just went back to his mechanic. Mid lane, second tier defense turret is going to go down. And not to forget, Kingsmen, all 4 members, they are still very much alive, and thus bring down the inhibitor turret in the middle lane is going to be pivotal, and even pushing all the way through down onto the core is going to be very important, because JPL is coming back in 1 second. They managed to buy enough time actually, and the core survives with half HP, with just a single Granger holding up the front lines against 4 other members. Potato, boy oh boy, that was very ballsy of you, and even picking up a Winter Truncheon.
Yeah, that is what experience does to you, right? Experience plays. He knows that the most important thing is to clear the minion wave, and he did just that. And that's the reason why they stopped hitting crystals, and they need to regroup after that. But with that being said, though, the Luminous slot is still there. All right, it's still up for grabs. If it was me just now, instead of pushing in the inhibitor turret down in the middle, I would definitely go for the Lord. That is the insurance policy for me. Right, you have that late game advantage, go for the Lord, get that 6-man, and after that, you know, try to go for that GG push.
Well, I believe the Kingsmen, what they had in mind was timing, right? They played games, they understood what is at stake. With 4 men alive and with only a Granger, they can actually technically push Granger off the edge by making him overextend and try to defend mid as much as possible while they are trying to go for the GG push. But unfortunately, the timing is slightly off by about 2 seconds, because if they were faster by 2 seconds, I think that would have been game over for Kingsmen.
That's true, that's very true. Now, both teams will be hovering in this Luminous slot area. EVOS still wants to fight for this, even though they have been losing the team fight for the past 2 team fights. Seems like it's going to be Lord at 20% life. We have Odia Baby with that Retribution. Black Dragon is going to come in, but then again, Potato Whip still on that Retribution. Well timed. Anime trying to get into the front line, but look at the back line as well. Potato, they're going for Potato. Forza doesn't want to give up, but look at the front. Loon is all in front, all alone, but Anime trying to chase Jay down now. And Azura X will Forza. Look at the guiding wind helping Forza to escape. But then again, Edamir is caught in the pickle but manages to escape because why 15? Level 15 Esmeralda is pretty tanky.
With a Luminous Lord now marching through middle lane and even going to be fighting for the cause of EVOS and help them retain the position into a 0-1 in favor for them. We shall see exactly how much work this Lord can do. As they freeze the lane in the middle as much as possible, is syncing up with top lane, syncing up with bottom. Okay, not exactly syncing with top lane because they're not clearing that out immediately. But hey, it could still work out. The lanes are slowly going to get pushed. The Lord is going to be the front liner while Adamir goes straight out. Jumps himself on top of Jay, making sure that he will be able to push everyone else out. But unfortunately, the Lord is just going to be down to 10% HP. He's still hammering down to the core, but the core is now down to 50%, 10%, and even down to 8-0. EVOS take themselves game number 1 away from Kingsmen. And I guess they are just 1/4, 1/3, or maybe even half of the journey against Kingsmen is over.
Yeah, what a
Stun. And a lot of AoE damage. I think the more important thing, she's able to just run away. You know, if Jawhit jumps on her, she's able to just disappear.
Yeah, they are trying to get that Kadita. Looking at MPL Indonesia, very popular Kadita pick.
Kingsmen have been running Vedita a couple of times, and Jay seems to be pretty comfortable. Okay, time for the question. Draft aside, who is winning? Draft. No, not draft aside. Draft. Based on draft, who's winning?
EVOS.
EVOS?
EVOS.
I will go with Kingsmen.
Okay, I say EVOS has a pretty nice lineup. I'm going to go for Kingsmen again. I want to see game 3. So let's see what happens. All right, Eugene as well as Fizzy, over to you guys.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let us just jump right in and take a look at game number 2 between these two rivals. EVOS is going to be down on the bottom left-hand side, while Kingsman is going to be on the top right-hand side. Natan is not mid, boys. Now, that does kind of make sense considering the fact that they picked up a Kadita in this case, because if I'm thinking and looking at Kadita, I was thinking that, yeah, roam Kadita. But no, they have a Azura X. So the other thing that they can do is put Kadita as well as the Forza up in the gold lane and just work with what they have. But in the end, this is what we've got. Kingsmen with a lineup of 4, well, magical damage dealers.
Yeah, it's pretty much similar to the first game, but what's most important thing right now in the early game itself for both carry heroes, like I mentioned before, they need to get the level 4 as soon as possible, under 2 minutes to be exact. Now, when you look at this small mini-map, right, the turtle is going to be spawned in the bottom, but hold on, because Azura X is low right now. Is she going to get that first blood? And there you go, JPL with that smart missile securing that first blood onto Azura X.
Well, whoever that voted that EVOS will get a first blood, congratulations. You have successfully go against the waves. And EVOS 2 times in a row have managed to secure themselves the first blood, which is weird, if you ask me. It just doesn't seem to be right anymore. But hey, just pretty much means that EVOS will have a pretty decent start to their games with the turtle coming up in 5 seconds. Kingsmen, they're trying their very best to actually hold their dominance throughout the bottom lane, but the most important thing is that no one in Kingsmen should die. Potato's HP down to less than 50%, doesn't have Firaga armor. JPL's HP lower than 50% as well. So Azura X and Ode Bambi, they can just kind of unleash all of their ultimate and just do whatever they can, at least only for Ode Bambi. The turtle that will now be slain by Potato, but unfortunately right after that, he's gonna go straight down. Loon does not connect onto the opponent with the Falling Star Moon.
Yeah.
Nelson and Dungeon 1-1.
There you go, Potato securing that that turtle, yes, but then again, it nullified by Kingsman. Is it JJ with that Kadita securing that kill, and that's the reason why the goal difference is not a lot. If not, if Potato will stay alive, the goal difference will be slightly, you know, there's a slight gap, but because of that kill on Potato itself, the goal lane is not a lot. So when you can see here, for Potato is a level 5, have that magic boots. Okay, probably go for that War Axe. War Axe is a very important item for Xbox, right? The longer you fight, the more damage you're going to deal. So that's the first item that Potato is looking for.
I'm thinking of whether Potato will want to go for early game damage, or do they want to go for more defensive lineup to ensure that Potato is able to tide through the early stages. But if we look at Kingsman's lineup, Azura X is going to be pretty scary in the front lines. Jay has got crazy damage over there, so he could go like super defensive just so that he will pave the way over for Gear to do a little bit more damage over to the late games and Sailor to do the damage. So a small part of me believes that Potato might actually just go for his Bloodlust Axe first, followed by the War Axe. But hey, it's just a speculation. I'm not exactly sure what exactly they are looking for, but in the end, whichever route that you go first, it doesn't really matter that much. It's more of play styles.
Exactly. Now, when we look here at the bottom, Loon is going up 1-on-1 against Adamir. Now, this is a battle of the off-laners, right? Adamir using that Cyclone Sweep, has that lifesteal ability. So both of these off-laners is basically just going to even each other out in this early game. Now we're going to focus here. The second turtle is out. The first turtle has been secured by Potato. Now KGM would want to contest for this turtle. As you can see there, Esmeralda Loon is opening up the map for his teammates. Now Jay will be there as well, JPL. Trying to roam around, hovering, waiting for the right time to engage. Somebody's going to start the turtle, right? When somebody's going to start the turtle, wait for half-life, and then someone can just steal it with the retribution, similar to what Potato did in the previous game.
Natan is going to be stealing the opponent's purple buff and making full use of the turtle as a distraction. EVOS would probably not do anything unless Alex does something in here. But for now, we're just going to be focusing on to the main fight as Adamir's Cyclone Sweep as well as the ultimate did not bring Loon down, although he was pretty darn close. The lethal counter is now unavailable. Forza with a nice little slick shot right into the face of Potato, brings down the Hyper and down off it goes. While Gear follows through with that flicker with the Flowing Blood still activated, unable to do quite much from that point in time, takes it being taken down by Loon.
Well, it was actually 4-for-1 trade on the side of Kingsmen, right? Kingsmen securing that turtle, and why not, trying to get that kills as well, racking up the numbers, and with that, having that gold advantage, and they're trying to secure this P1 in the bottom. I see no problem here.
I really like what Kingsman is doing in this game now. Putting a Forza onto the side lanes instead of, well, getting him something else such as the Yuzhong is definitely a lot better, because we are more comfortable with looking at Forza playing something more onto the marksman side of the division instead of the tanky frontline side of the division. So Kingsmen, I do think that they have quite a very big objective here that they can play. They can play early game like crazy and still deal a bulk of damage. But for now, looking up top, Potato flushes himself right on top of Azura X, but unfortunately, Last Insanity not gonna do much, as he's just gonna be getting himself away from all of that crazy concoction of damage, while Jay goes straight out for Rough Waves, bringing Potato down almost immediately, Forza being the next victim in the eyes of EVOS. 1-for-1 trade, not too out of the way, with only 2,000 gold deficit that EVOS is experiencing.
Alright, now with that fight, KGM is up by 2k gold lead. This is where they want to be, right? When you look at both of the composition, they have that early game aggression, Odia Bambi with the Granger, and Potato with that Xbox. They do have that late game advantage as well, with Loon on the Esmeralda, Sailor on the Luna. So it seems like in terms of composition, both teams are similar. And when you look at the goal difference, it's pretty much close as well. Now, speaking of which, nice ejector coming in for Loon. And there you go, Last Insanity. Boom! Potato secures one in the mid lane.
Looking good so far. EVOS is holding their own pretty darn well, while Kingsmen, they still have got the power and the control of the top lane up in the northern side. Kingsmen banking it all in onto the turtle and brings it down almost immediately. But it doesn't mean that EVOS is doing nothing anyways. They did manage to bring down the first tier turret down in the bottom lane, but Kingsman is going to echo that thought and make that first defense turret down a little bit more redundant. And thus, Kingsmen, they do have a small little lead now until where Loon gets absolutely floored in by EVOS.
Wow. Gear was all alone in the bottom, but speaking of which, a little counter by Adamir. What a play. And there goes, oh dear, Bambi.
Potato kind of seems like he has like his Faraga armor almost all the time, and honestly, that's kind of weird. He's always going out for Last Insanity and always popping it into the faces of the enemies, and he's just wheeling down the opponent's damage one after another. But for now, oh, Azura X being tossed and saved in by JPL as Adamir was so low and almost being destroyed by the Soul Bloom Plus Circling Eagle combination that Azura X is able to dish out. Not too sure how it all did not connect, but all in all, the save is what's most important as JPL walks himself away right next to Potato.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Adamir.
Anime was all over the place since the very beginning. He goes from the bottom, he goes to the top, he goes to the mid, and why not? He's the bellman, right? He has that cyclone sweep, he has that lifesteal ability, and 3 seconds on that cyclone sweep, that's huge. You know, so he is tanky. I mean, on the side of Kingsmen, they need to recognize that, right? They need to keep this bellman in check. If they don't, it's hard to bring him down in the late game.
Do know that EVOS lineup, they are very pick-off related, right? They gotta have to pick off the enemies in order to do very well over in team fights. Because it's kind of what they want to go for, right? They want to get the early advantage by getting the man advantage. As for now, Adamir, his Cyclone Sweep managed to bring Azura's HP all the way down to an all-time low as he split the fight into two. Adamir gets Odia Bambi, and not to forget, another one bites the dust coming from the side of Azura X. And now they have the man advantage. That is where EVOS is looking to clear a win for themselves by knocking onto the Lord's pit. As the Lord is now lower than 30%, 10%, and down it goes. As now the Lord will now fight for the cause of EVOS rushing through bottom lane.
Alright, it's going to be 6v5 right now. Right, EVOS have the Lord. It's still a normal Lord. Not the Luminous Lord yet, but what's important thing for EVOS is to sync the wave. I always say this, if you secure the Lord, you need to secure an objective. If not, it's just going to be a wasted Lord. So on the side of EVOS, I have no problem. I know for a fact that they will sync the wave, as you can see in the mini-map. But then we said there's going to be fight here for the purple JPL into the flying line. He's going to go down. There you go, Odia Bambi secures one, trying to get another one, but last Insanity from Potato secures one as well. Now Forza is but look at that, A to the back line. Gear has been super quiet. Kill with that Blood Ore and that Blood Ode. Now Loon trying to get that fight, but then again, Gear being Gear, he will be surviving that fight, and why not? It's gonna be 3 for nothing on the side of EVOS.
The best rookie came up from absolutely nowhere! As Gear is now going to be holding himself in the front lines, he manages to come in and go for a unknown sweep from absolutely nowhere, bring Odia Bambi down as well as Forza. Now Potato, he still have a massive amount of damage that's available for him. He actually managed to bring out Last Insanity, and the Immortality is now going to be popped. He does have a lot of shield, he does have the Firaga armor as well, and they may actually try to go for the GG Crystal! Potato slip of health as well! But in the end, the Lord will swing his mighty axe down onto the core. Congratulations over to EVOS. That was a very convincing victory coming in from EVOS, and I gotta have to give it over to